Preliminary matter, this is Brian Sullivan, Chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. Permit me to confirm all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tom Dixon.
Here.
Forrest Bell.
Here.
Meg Browers.
Here.
Chantal Murphy.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Ellis Ramos.
Here.
Vicky Marsh.
Here.
Lee Smith.
Here.
Christy Ferrantella.
Here.
Tracy McDonald.
Here.
Great. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Rob Ranney.
Here.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon. This is an open meeting, the Affordable Housing Trust being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, ensuring public access does not ensure public participation. Unless such participation is required by law, the meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Affordable Housing Trust is convening by a video conference via the Zoom app is posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note the meeting is being recorded. All attendees are participating via video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All materials that have been provided members of the body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless we note otherwise. We'll turn to the first item on the agenda, but before we do so, let's cover some ground rules for effective, clear conduct of our business, ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, we'll go down a line of members, inviting each by name to provide comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Remember to mute your phone or your computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. For any response, please wait until the floor yields to you. State your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items of public comment, after members have spoken, we'll afford public comment to the members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names, be acknowledged, and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote will be taken by a roll call. With that, we'll go to call the meeting to order for December 3rd. Make one edit that I'm aware of on the agenda to hold the November 19th minutes. And are there any other changes to the agenda before I look for a motion to approve it? Christy, Ellis, or seeing none? I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Tom. A second. Second from Meg by roll call. Forrest Bell.
Aye.
Meg Browers.
Aye.
Chantal Murphy.
Aye.
Tom Dixon.
Aye.
And Penny Dye.
Aye.
Brian Sullivan's an aye. Open the meeting for public comment for items not listed on the agenda. Seeing none. Close public comment. Item 4, look for an approval of minutes for the weeks of October 18th, October 28th, November 1st, and November 7th. Anyone make a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes that you listed.
Thank you, Meg. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it, but I have a question, Mr. Chair, through you to Ellis.
For
Ellis.
discussion, Penny?
Yeah, thank you. Ellis, are these the ones I already read? Yes, okay, I
Yes,
second the motion.
They're the ones
Thank
that you already read and they had your edits.
Thank you.
Great. I'll just note for the record that Abby has joined the meeting, and we'll vote on this item. So we have a motion from Meg to approve the minutes 18, 28, 1st, and 7th, seconded by Penny by roll call. Forrest Bell.
Aye.
Meg Browers.
Aye.
Chantal Murphy. Tom Dixon.
Aye.
Abby De Molina.
Aye.
Thank you, Abby. Penny Dye.
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan's an aye. Moving to item 5, we have announcements. Christy, do you want me to just read these, or do you got it, or?
You can read through them.
You're so good at this, though. The Affordable Housing Trust is excited to announce the release of 2 requests for proposals, RFPs, for the development of affordable housing on trust-owned vacant lots. For more details and access to the documents, please visit www.nantucket-ma.gov 2024/199/procurement. Item 2, the Richmond Development has open applications for the lottery of 12 income restricted rental units at Gooseberry Place within Meadows 2. The units offer a range of affordability with options from 80%, 110, 120 of the area median income. Applications are due by December 9th, and the lottery will take place on January 9th. For more details or to apply, visit the Richmond office at 1 Orchid Place or the Nantucket Athenaeum. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund quarterly update to the select board will be December 4th at 5:30 p.m. Any other announcements? Seeing none, we have a closing cost assistance program application for the Acostas at 7 Sandpiper Place. Open the item for discussion, comments, questions on the application. Ellis, you provided in the packet a complete application. Is there anything outstanding?
I have everything from her. There's nothing outstanding.
Any members look to make a recommendation or motion? Shanta?
I'll make a motion to approve the closing cost assistance program application up to 15,000 for the applicant.
Thank you, Shanta. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Forrest. A vote by roll call. Meg Bowers,
Aye.
Shanta Murphy, Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Forrest Bell,
Aye.
Abby De Molina,
Aye.
Penny Dye,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan's an aye. Excellent. Item 5, 6, 7. 7, review the good landlord tax exemption guidelines for 2025 annual town meeting warrant article discussion. I don't know. I think that this is more of a discussion today than an action item. I'm just leaving off we may not take an action today. Ellis, I'll come to you and then to Rob, if that works.
So I submitted your questions to Rob, and he has the answer to them. So I would pass it on to him. He's prepared to answer your questions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ellis. Hey, Rob, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to see everybody. It's occurring to me now. So I've done a little bit of research on this. This is a tough time of year for my office because we're busy trying to get tax bills ready and values approved and all that. So I haven't been able to focus on this as much as I probably could have. But the best analogy to this is how Provincetown does it. And they do two different things. They do a thing, and so some of the information that's out there now may be confusing these two different programs that they have. One of them is that if you rent to year-round people at an affordable rate, you could qualify for the residential exemption, which is something that only people who own and occupy their property year-round qualify for. But if you have, if you're a landlord who is renting to somebody who is paying a reduced rate to live there year-round, but you don't live there yourself year-round, you could still qualify that property for the residential exemption. So that's one program. Another program is the
Rob, I apologize to cut you off because I'm now confused. Are you saying that is already in place and relative today?
No, this is what Provincetown does.
Got it. Okay.
So that is one thing, and I think some of the discussions I had with Ellis leading up to this were focused around that one program, but they have another program that is it sort of splits it a little bit, and it's in your agenda packet. It splits it a little bit between different income levels, how those are managed. A portion of the property is exempted out, I guess. And there's a complicated formula on how that all plays into somebody's taxes. So I'm not sure which one we're focusing on here. I think initially our discussions were that we would focus on the residential exemption version because that was quicker and easier to get into town meeting, this upcoming town meeting. But I could be wrong. I don't want to speak for everybody here.
It's my understanding the goal was the residential exemption,
Okay.
renting to people at an affordable rate was the goal.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's
And-
perfect. So the way that would work from my perspective is somebody would have to make sure that the renting is handled appropriately because this office is not set up to manage that or to even, check in on that or to figure out who's paying what and, to who. But, as long as that stuff is vetted, as far as the application process goes, then we would treat it just like we do the residential exemption. And, qualify the people and approve them that way, as long as the rental stuff is handled through, whatever vetting process you all decide on.
Rob, Penny has a question. Penny?
Yeah, thank you. This could be sort of a little bit more detailed, this question, than anybody has the answer for, but does anybody know if consideration has been given to people that are renting to a family member affordably? Because there's a lot of that going on here, and I think it needs to be, recognized equally. Thanks.
Thanks, Penny. So that was one of the questions that we had that it kind of is in the packet, and I think that's open for further discussion. Rob, if I can come back to kind of high level on the residential exemption, on how many properties are currently accepting it, I guess my question becomes, in creating this opportunity, what burden are we going to put on the tax basis or estimation that your office would consider? And in that, how do we help people choose to rent year round with an abatement like this as an opportunity versus moving away from seasonal rentals or something like that?
That's going to be a tricky thing for each individual property owner to decide for themselves, I think, because so the residential exemption right now, there are roughly about 2,350 recipients of that. And the amount last year worked out to about $2,500 in tax money. So I guess what I would say is if the landlord is if their rental income is offset somehow by this $2,500 or whatever it ends up being, because it changes from year to year, then that would be the incentive for them to do it. If they're making more seasonally, which I don't want to step on any toes here, but often the seasonal stuff sounds great on paper until you get into it, and then people realize, well, no, this is terrible. It's too much wear and tear. There's other issues. I just want to rent year round, and that's great. And this could be a perfect program for them. So I don't know if that answers your question, but there is I guess there's going to be a calculation as to, okay, I'm saving, whatever the number is, we'll say 2,500 on my tax bill. I'm not getting, $300 more per month because I'm renting at a lesser rate. Maybe, I don't know, does it come down to a break even? Are you actually making a little bit of money on it because of the exemption? It's up to each person, I guess.
I think I was personally thinking about it on the higher level as far as the community impact, right? So you're talking about $6 million worth of revenue by people accepting the exemption for the town. So if we're fortunate enough to find 2,000 people that are renting affordably, that could be the cost in municipal revenue.
Let me back that up. So it's not really when we're figuring out the tax rate and the amount that everyone's being charged for taxes, the amount that is exempted from the people receiving the exemption goes back into the pot. So when you have the residential exemption in a community, what typically happens is the tax rate itself is a couple of cents higher because that extra amount is put back. into the-
Redivided.
Right,
Yeah.
to the people that are not getting the exemption. But it only affects the residential class of properties. It doesn't affect anybody else.
Right. Well, a question from Tracy.
Right, sorry. I do have a question. So if, like, I'm going to use my family as an example. We have multiple properties that we rent affordably. They're all duplexes. The rents are all under $2,000. Do we just get one exemption, or can we apply for them for all, 6 structures?
So the answer to that is you only get one. Because
Okay.
the residential exemption, you can only get it once. And if you're receiving it in Boston, for example, who does offer it also, you cannot receive it here either, because the state will only allow you to get that type of exemption one time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Christy?
Just to follow up on that, is that something that we can alter as one of our own guidelines, that you could have multiple properties, or that's a state rule that you can only have one?
That's a state rule, and I don't know that there is a local option to modify that. I'm assuming there's probably not, because it comes directly from the state.
Okay.
So Rob, just to clarify for me, I apologize. If I'm collecting the residential exemption on my home, but I have a rental property that I'm renting year round affordably, I can't do the good neighbor landlord exemption and the residential. It's just one.
That's correct. Yeah, so
Okay.
so this would have to be, for the people who are in a position who don't qualify now for the residential exemption, but would under this program.
So it's guest cottages on a property that you may use seasonally and you're not collecting it in another state, or, okay.
Exactly.
Tom?
Hi, Rob. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Rob. Rob, you commented before about how Provincetown has the 2 programs or thereabouts in effect, and that if we or any municipality this were to become effect, that we would need somebody to vet to make sure that the deductions were properly given. And as you said, you have a lot going on with all this. So I guess my question is, if this were to become a reality, did you have any thoughts on how we meaning the town writ large would do that? Would that be an RFP, or I'm just trying to get a handle on that.
I guess I would say that would be up to you all. Maybe Christy has some ideas on this. Ellis and I talked about perhaps another, agency who's already doing similar type of work, vetting the rental and stuff through them. And then when it shows up at my doorstep, it's already, the rental side of it is already approved. We already know that they're, good to go as far as that's concerned. And all we have to do is make sure that they own the property. And basically that's it, and we're good to go.
Christy, a little more on that idea. So your hand went up.
Yes, just to add on to that, one of the things we've been discussing is similar to our closing cost assistance. It's part of the application that you have to submit the income verification by another organization. And so we were thinking that this would be similar, that you would have that be part of the application, that it would be a sign off by an organization like Housing Nantucket that income qualifies you. There's still a little bit more details to figure out, but the timeline for this would be to be on town meeting this year to go into effect July 1st of 2026. So we have some time to figure it out, but we wanted to be able to at least put it on the warrant this year so that it can go into effect the following year.
Having a little bit better understanding today than I did at the last meeting with Rob being here, it seems like it's a much smaller potential group than I had previously thought it was that would qualify based on the single exemption. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be chasing it down, but I was hoping it would be a much vaster opportunity for people.
Well, I look at it as another, tool in the toolbox type of thing that it could, there could be more people waiting in the wings that are doing the thing, or this could incentivize people who aren't even thinking about this type of thing and saying, hey, maybe I'll rent to year-rounders and I'll get this tax deduction. I don't know.
Rob, when you do an assessment, if you have a main house and a guest house on your property and you're collecting the residential exemption, is the value of the guest cottage reduced? It's just flat across the board. It's not like,
Yeah, it comes off the total value. Yeah.
okay. Additional questions for Rob? I'm seeing none. Christie, is there anything else that I'm missing here?
So we need guidance from the trust on the state. The state has provided a lot of the guidance on how the program would work, and there's a few things that are left up to the municipality to adopt, and the select board was looking for a recommendation from the trust. And those 5 things, I can read through and then we can go through one by one. But it's the maximum amount of the exemption, the annual occupant household income limit, the affordable housing rent rate of rent, the domiciliary requirements of the owner, and any other restrictions or regulations that are consistent with the intent of the law. So to circle back, the maximum amount of the exemption, that's something that we discussed last time, and Rob, you can correct me, is to have that in line with the residential, which would be 25%. He's shaking his head.
Yeah, no, sorry, yes. And so last year that ended up being around $800,000 that comes off of the value, and then what's left is what you get taxed on. And that $800,000 chunk last year was about $2,500 in tax dollars.
So do you want the trust to give kind of a consensus if they agree with that recommendation?
I guess I'd look for Paul, Tom.
Yeah, may I make a quick suggestion?
Yes.
I'm kind of thinking that I would like some time to really kind of think this over. And we at Select Board, our tax hearing got postponed for another week. I think that I'd also like to see exactly what Provincetown is doing and maybe compare. Christy, I'm sure you know the folks there, but I have a good friend who serves on this Provincetown Select Board, who I'm sure would be happy to furnish some info if it's not very easily readily available, which I'm sure it is. Anyway, maybe that's just a throw out there that maybe if we could sort of have a little bit more time to digest this, but still be mindful of when we close the warrant and all that.
So I think we only have one meeting before the warrant closes, which would be after the December holidays, and so the very beginning of January. So to be sensitive to that request, Tom, maybe we can move some of the other topics along just for discussion, and then know that we're going to come back in January and hopefully with a recommendation. Meg?
Thank you. I wanted to say that I was taking a peek at Provincetown's program and thinking about other things that we do in the Affordable Housing Trust. I think that if we made the occupant income limit 80%, I think that would be great. And in terms of affordable housing rate of rent, I don't know if you have a suggestion, Christy, or if we've asked, Housing Nantucket or whatever, but from what I understand, she has about 1,000 people on her ready to rent list. So I'm assuming that a big chunk of those people are probably going to fall within the 80% AMI And if so, what is the current recommendation for that? Like 30% of your household income it should be no more than 30% of your household income going towards housing, right? So those just two kind of jumped out as me as sort of easy metrics for us to consider.
Thank you, Meg. My thought is 80%, to Meg's comment, I was thinking about the 80% as well, but alternatively, I was thinking we should probably have it up to the maximum amount of 200% because 80, we won't see enough household people qualifying. And the goal is to keep people in year-round housing. And so if this is a benefit not to be seasonal and to be year-round, if the qualification income was up to 200, more people homeowners might qualify for the exemption. Was my thought on that one. Christy?
Thank you. So we do have a meeting 2 weeks from today on the 17th. So what my staff and I can do with Rob's assistance is really put together kind of a one-pager brief. There's a lot of information in your packet, but we'll try to condense it and get that in front of the members to review before the 17th meeting. But we'll just focus on those 5 items that the trust needs to make a recommendation to the board on.
Penny, coming to you before.
Yeah, just very quickly, I strongly agree with what you suggested about not limiting it to the 80%. I just think it's going to defeat the purpose. And I think we need, at least initially, the broadest potential pool of people. Thank you.
Christy, do you have enough on the other 3 to kind of lead that discussion with Robin at all? Okay, great. Meg, back to you.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I also fully support going up to the highest tier of affordable housing or, AMI. So that sounds fantastic. And then just a quick question. Could we modify this program moving forward? Would that require another annual town meeting vote? Or can we do we have the ability to modify as needed going forward? Like, let's say we wanted to, I don't know, do we need to have like a spending cap, or like if we wanted to change anything about the requirements of the owner, like can you modify this type of arrangement in the future, or does it have to go through ATM again?
I'm going to come to Lee, or I think Lee, Vicky's off screen. Lee, if we send this the first time to make any changes, do we need to go back to town meeting?
Is it considered like I'm not understanding why I would go to town meeting to begin with.
I think it's an adoption of, let me get to the right page here.
Just a statute.
No.
Go ahead, Penny.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say this. I don't believe this would go to town meeting. It would be a programmatic change.
That's what I thought.
Thank you.
We can follow up and get answers for the next meeting.
Okay, any other questions to pass on for the next meeting? No, seeing none. Okay, great. Rob, thank you for your attendance today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep, thanks for having me.
All right, get back to my agenda page. We are on item 8, request for approval of draft commitment letters for the town of Nantucket to Hall Keen Management for Workforce Housing at 6 Fairgrounds Road. Christy, I'm going to come. Do you want to come to you or come straight to Vicky? Vicky, you went off mic fast. You're ready. Here we go.
So I have before you a red line version of these commitment letters that are running to Hal Keen from the trust and the town. These are, it's a little complicated, but these are really commitment letters that are going to provide additional funding for $8,700,000. It's going to be a loan. Well, it's all set up as a loan, but actually the town is actually going to be paying for $1 million of it for the basements that are going to be constructed for these units at Tacoma Green. So it's $8.7 million. This project is being funded in part by federal and state tax credit, low-income housing tax credits. We are working in conjunction with the developer and the state primarily to get this project funded and to be able to finally start construction. The state has particular requirements with respect to dispersing funds that they are going to use ARPA funds, and they have to be expended by the end of this year or committed by the end of this year to use. And so we're really under a time crunch to be able to get this to the state. And so what we are seeking from you is approval to be able to, agree to this commitment letter to the developer, and the terms of which are subject to change as we approach closing on this matter. EOHLC is involved, the state, investors, a private lender, Mass Housing. So there's a lot of parties and a lot of interests that have to be worked out. But the basis of this particular commitment letter is that the trust and the town are committing $8.7 million for a loan for this project with a maturity date of 43 years. So it's a ways off from being paid off. But it will support 64 units of housing that will be on the SHI list with a variety of affordability levels that are outlined in this letter. And will be an affordable housing project in perpetuity. We will be receiving an affordable housing restriction to be held by the town and EOHLC in perpetuity. So I've also included, this letter is a red line version, I believe. Christy, did you happen to send the red line version, or is it the clean version?
They have the
It's a clean version
right now.
Okay. So this doesn't contain the red lines that I included. Is that correct, Christy? Okay. So this version has been redlined and revised, and I can certainly get you another version of it. But the changes basically were that the letter is being directed not to Halkeen Management, but it's going to be directed to the attention of Andrew Burns, who is the manager for HK Tacoma LLC, which is an entity that is under the auspices of Halkeen Management. And the other couple of revisions, one is that this will have a solar component if HTC approves of this. And so the funding for this solar in part comes from tax credits for that. And in the event that that in fact the solar is not able to be constructed as part of the project, that the amount that would have been for the subsidy for the tax credits for the solar will be deducted from each phase. There are two phases with two separate letters. And the other revision is that in the repayment to the town, we are in a position where we would be getting paid off. We're in a lesser position than other funders. And so if EOHLC and the other Mass Docs allow us to be able to participate with them at the same rate, then we would be getting paid off at a different time in this payment schedule. But we are treated with the other funders for this project under a subordination agreement that will run to all of the lenders. And so there are two loans. There's a 9% loan for low-income housing tax credits for phase 1 of the project, and that will have 31 units. And then there is a 4% interest low-income tax credits for phase 2, and that will have 33 units. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate it. I have one question. And it may be for Christy, not for you. The funding for this loan has already been earmarked with the addition, and it's from previous bonding authority. Okay, so and then the
And ARPA funds too.
And the ARPA funds would need a commitment by the end of this year, and then
Right.
will the other funds that we'll be bringing forward, it could be within the next, what time period are we expecting to be dispersing the funds?
So we're realistically being told that this will close at the end of the second quarter of next year, so
Okay.
June 30th. So the letter has a closing date of June 30th, which the county trust would agree to extend on a month-by-month basis as this goes on. These closings are really tough to set down as to a specific closing date. They move
A lot of people involved. That appreciate you navigating all this space. Thank you.
Well, I have to say kudos to Christy and to Brian Turbot. They have really helped out in getting this to come to fruition here. So I really appreciate their help too.
Great. Penny, you have a question? Or?
Yep, through you, Mr. Chair, to Vicky. I'm curious, with these 99-year ground leases, are they automatically renewable?
So they're not renewable. They would need to be renegotiated, but the restriction that's on them will also run in perpetuity. The effect of a 99-year ground lease is that it's basically in perpetuity. And there is a statute, by the way, Chapter 184, Section 26, which allows municipalities to hold restrictions for public purposes in perpetuity without having to comply with certain other requirements. So it's not just limited to 30 years.
Thank you for that. Just a follow-up question, if I could, Mr. Chair. I don't know who can answer this. How many years did the lawsuit hold us up?
Oh gosh. 3 years, I think.
Here comes Christy.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was filed in 2018, resolved in the beginning of 2020, but it wasn't filed by the state till almost the end of 2020 because of the pandemic. It was almost a full 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And as painful as it is to see the legal costs, I'm surprised it wasn't more. So thank you.
Thanks, Penny. So, Christy, does staff have a recommendation for the board here as we look to make a motion and take an action today?
Yes, so we're looking for an approval of the draft commitment letters, which will also be approved by the select board tomorrow night or reviewed.
Okay. Great, so we're looking for a motion to approve, subject to the select board's approval tomorrow night for the commitment letters up to $8.7 million.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
I'll
Penny. Is there a
second.
second? Thank you,
Second.
Chantal. Vote by roll. Any discussion? Seeing none, vote by roll call. Meg Bowers,
Aye.
Chantal Murphy,
Aye.
Boris Bell,
Aye.
Penny Dye,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Abby De Molina,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan's an aye.
Good
Okay,
job.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Let's see what's next. Sorry. Approval, that was 8. 9. Other business. Christy, other business, you mentioned that there's a meeting December 17th at 12:30. Okay, we'll have the holiday party at that moment. Penny, so everybody wear your decorative tea hats. Any other business? Seeing none, close that. Item 10, board comments. Okay, no board comments. Going to look for a motion to adjourn to executive session to then return to public session for the purpose to consider purchase, exchange, lease, or real value of property that may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the Affordable Housing Trust. Anyone like to make that motion?
I'll do it because I'm unmuted. So.
Thank you, Penny. And a
You're
second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Forrest. Vote by roll call. Meg Bowers,
Aye.
Chantal Murphy,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Forrest Bell,
Aye.
Penny Dye,
Aye.
Abby De Molina,
Aye.
and Brian Sullivan's an aye. Okay. Switch links. See you there.
Record.
We need Ann. Do we?
Vicky.
Vicky's coming. Vicky, I just let Vicky in.
Okay, great. So we're going to reconvene the open session of the Affordable Housing Trust for December 3rd. For, let's see. What's B? It's B item 15. Sorry, my Roman numerals are off. The review request an additional funding for workforce rental project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11 Wiggles Way, formerly known as Fairgrounds Road. And we will come to you for this request.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for sticking with us here. I am coming before you to request funding from the Affordable Housing Trust for $2.545 million. We had we're very near to completing the project, and there were some unexpected events as far as a health incident for our builder that basically made us aware that there was going to be a cost overage, and so that's why we're here. We went to the bank and we're borrowing money from Cape Cod 5 to fund the overage, but then also there's some money that's needed to bridge the gap. We want to maintain the levels of affordable rents for different income brackets, 80, 100, and 150% AMI. So we want to make sure that those housing costs are kept affordable for those constituents. So that's why we're here. And I hope, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But again, just appreciate your support through this whole process, which has not been easy, but the finish line is definitely in sight.
And on noting the finish line, my understanding is that we're looking at a project completion of the end of the first quarter of 2025. Just for note of the public, this is we are on numerous meetings and discussions about getting to this point and this request with a lot of due diligence and background. Christy, would you like to present to the public the recommendation?
Yes. So in reviewing this request and looking at the funding buckets available to the town and to the Affordable Housing Trust, our recommendation is to move forward with the request of $2,545,000. Of that, $600,000 would be coming from ARPA funds, which are federal funds, part of I'm blanking on what ARPA stands for after a long meeting, but it's federal funds that the town has to commit by December 31st of this year. And while no other projects have been identified at the time, we felt that this could be a good project to contribute to housing. The additional $1,945,000 would come from the Affordable Housing Trust, and this would come from cash from our annual budget override. The second installment of $1,945,000 would have contingencies in our grant agreement that certain things need to be met in order for those funds to be released, and making sure that we have all necessary documentation around the change order and contracts between Housing Nantucket and the builders, and that we'll continue to review all payments that have been issued in relation to this development. So I know that Housing Nantucket is taking on its own audit of the project, and the town would be doing the same thing concurrently. And that's the staff recommendation in ARPA's, the American Rescue Plan Act. And thank you to Ellis for that.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Ellis. Any discussion on the staff recommendation? Go ahead, Penny.
I just think it's important for the public, Brian, that you point out that this is, or somebody does, this is 8 buildings, 22 units ranging from 1 to 3 bedrooms. There is municipal employee preference in 6 of the units, and that they're serving income levels from 80% AMI up to 150, it's 150%, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Penny. And to review that this has been a long ongoing project with a lot of attention, with construction meetings happening on a weekly basis. The trust has been meeting quite regularly about this project. While there have been concerns about the length of time that it's taken and the cost increases, I think we recognize that the cost environment and inflation got a hold of us at its worst throughout the course of this project. And while we are spending more money than initially expected when this project came to us originally, the per unit cost is not out of line based on other projects that we've seen, like Habitat for Humanity or others in the recent past. With that, is someone prepared to make a motion on the staff recommendation for the approval of 2545 using $600,000 of ARPA funds and the following $1,945,000 with the conditions as described?
Yeah, I'll make the motion if I don't have to say it all over again.
Okay. I think we're good on the motion. Is there a second? I'll second the motion from Penny for the approval, and I'll take a vote by roll call. Abby DiMolina,
Aye. Sorry.
no, don't be sorry. That baby's adorable, even blurred out. Chantal Murphy.
Aye.
Meg Browers.
Aye.
Tom Dixon.
Aye.
Penny Dye.
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan's an aye. Thank you, everyone, for the long, hard work getting here. With that, I think I need a motion to adjourn the open session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll
Second from Meg. That was quick. Tom Dixon.
Aye.
Abby DiMolina.
Aye.
Chantal Murphy.
Aye.
Meg Browers.
Aye.
Penny Dye.
Aye.
And Brian Sullivan's an aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Aye.